Hey, what is up guys, Joseph here, and this is the numbers 40 to 31 of my top 100 movies of all time.
Number 40
is Raging Bull. Robert De Niro plays Jake LaMotta, real-life boxer who has a rise and fall of his career. I don't know how true to the story it is. I don't care.
Number 39
is Fight Club. Edward Norton plays an insomniac office worker, bored of his life, and he wants something to spice it up. And he eventually meets this soap maker, played by Brad Pitt, Tyler Durden, and they eventually create this underground fight club. And what began as just a place where guys could beat the crap out of each other slowly turned into a much darker and more sinister kind of group.
Number 38
is Apocalypse Now. Martin Sheen plays a soldier who is tasked with the mission to find and assassinate an evil colonel, played by Marlon Brando. And along the way, Martin Sheen, he comes into contact with Robert Duvall, who for some reason is obsessed with surfing. And then something that could change Robert Duvall into being like a minor villain, because the major villain is Marlon Brando's Colonel Kurtz. If you've seen the movie, hopefully you know what I'm talking about.
Number 37
something that I was dreading to watch. I think it was probably the only movie on this list that I was like, Princess Bride probably comes close, but this one I just didn't care because it took my two least favorite genres, or genres, however you guys want to pronounce it, and somehow made me enjoy them: romance and musicals. My number 37 is Singing in the Rain. This musical is one of the only three musicals that I've actually loved. Singing in the Rain, A Sound of Music, and Edward Scissorhands. Sweeney Todd and the Demon Barber of Fleet Street, I think the subtitle is. I was on the right track. It's a Johnny Depp movie. Those are the only three musicals that I've actually liked. But like I said, it takes two of my least favorite genres of musicals and romance and somehow makes me enjoy it. Gene Kelly stars as this silent movie star who has to deal with the transformation between the silent movie era to the talkies, as they were called back then. They like the movies with sound and talking and that kind of thing. And along the way with him trying to handle the transformation between the two, he meets Debbie Reynolds. He basically falls in love with her at first sight, and he learns that she wants to become an actress. And with his best friend's help, Cosmo, he tries to get Debbie Reynolds' character to an acting gig. But that's essentially the story without giving too much away. Musical aspect, the namesake, Singing in the Rain, that's really the only thing I knew going into it, was Singing in the Rain, that musical number. And I've heard that Good Morning song. I didn't know that it came from Singing in the Rain. Make 'Em Laugh, that came out of nowhere when I first saw this movie. It's pure entertainment with Donald O'Connor, who plays Cosmo, who's the best friend to Gene Kelly's. But I highly recommend Singing in the Rain.
Number 36
Back to the Future. Michael J. Fox plays Marty McFly, who's a high school, I want to say he was a senior, but I'm not sure. Anyways, he's a high school student who befriends the town scientist. Dr. Emmett Brown, played tremendously by Christopher Lloyd, creates this time machine in the form of a DeLorean. Stuff happens, and Marty gets sent back to the past. He realizes that he is in the time period where his mom and his dad went to high school. His mom falls in love with him because she doesn't know he's her son. Marty has to somehow make his parents fall back in love together. So his timeline, how he knew it, could exist.
Number 35.
The Lion King. The story of Simba, who is a young, egotistical prince whose father is murdered by the hands of Scar. After that, Simba is sent into exile, and while he's in exile, he meets Timon and Pumbaa. He loses his ego after being with Timon and Pumbaa for years. Eventually, Simba comes back to take down his uncle. He ends the movie with being the king of Pride Rock. Great voiceover work from pretty much everybody. Jeremy Irons especially. Jeremy Irons, who played Scar, Nathan Lane, Timon, James Earl Jones as Mufasa, Ernie Sabella played Pumbaa, even Matthew Broderick, who played adult Simba. Mr. Bean himself is in it. Rowan Atkinson. He plays Zazu. It's the story of Hamlet. That's what The Lion King is.
Number 34
is Memento. Guy Pearce plays a man who suffers from amnesia, tries to figure out who killed his wife through the tattoos he has. I will say that this is one of those movies where you cannot watch this movie doing anything else. You can't watch this movie while on your laptop or while on your phone or while talking to somebody. This movie is one of those movies where you have to sit and watch the movie from start to finish without distractions, because this movie is not shown in typical chronological form. It's told in reverse order.
Number 33
is LA Confidential. It's really killing me to do this, but I know most of you guys probably haven't seen LA Confidential, so it kills me to have to do this, but I'll just leave it at Russell Crowe and Kevin Spacey and Guy Pearce star as three LAPD detectives that have three very different methods of handling business, and they eventually realize that there's corruption in the LAPD.
Number 32
The Departed. Leonardo DiCaprio plays a cop who's hired to infiltrate the mob. While DiCaprio is in the mob, Jack Nicholson, who plays the mob boss, has a rat in the police, played by Matt Damon. And it becomes a cat and mouse game between Damon and DiCaprio. Great performances by pretty much everybody. DiCaprio, Damon, Nicholson, Martin Sheen, Mark Wahlberg.
Number 31
Full Metal Jacket. The first time I watched it, I liked the first 30-40 minutes when they're at the actual boot camp, and then after that, the first time I watched it, that's when it kind of lost me, because I was more intrigued by the boot camp movie. I would have been fine with that. The first time I watched it, I would have been fine if that was the whole entire movie. So the first time I watched it, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't as great as what I was expecting. But I rewatched it about a month or two ago, and like I thought in the first time I watched it, enjoyed the first 30-40 minutes when they're at the boot camp. And then after that, it did lose me just a little bit because it was a bit of a tone shift. But then as the movie progressed, I started to figure out what the actual story was. Because at the boot camp, I was thinking that the story of the movie was Vincent D'Onofrio's character and the drill sergeant, their conflict. I was thinking that was the story of the movie. But then after watching it for the second time, I realized that the story of the movie is Joker. And it's a story of his character change from Vincent D'Onofrio's really only friend to Vietnam journalist to a soldier. Not going to say what causes each of those. You're just going to have to figure that out for yourself. But that's what the story was. Great movie, and check it out. Alright, that's it for this video. Be sure to hit that like button, it really helps me out. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. And be sure to come back tomorrow for numbers 30 through 21. As always, like me on Facebook at JimMac97, follow me on Twitter, JimMac97.